Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Really excited to be back on today. I've got a really great friend of mine. And as I reflect on that, Mitch and I, we were only just connected earlier this year. It feels like I've known Mitch for 10 years. And so we talked for a long time before this podcast, just on a variety of different things. We'll probably talk for a little while afterwards, but Mitch is a class act. He's running a fantastic company out of Kansas City, and I cannot wait to introduce him and talk to some of the things that have been on the top of his mind the last year or so as we've been going through some of the hiring issues or labor issues and just a lot of other issues. There's no shortages of issues that business owners, whether you're in pest or other home service or otherwise, are going through. But before I introduce him, this episode, as they all are, they're brought to you by my company, Moxie Pest Control. We're growing just like Mitch's company is growing, and hopefully many of your companies are growing. We've done that through digital marketing. We've done that through direct sales. We've done that through a variety of different ways. One of the ways most specifically that we've been doing that the last probably 4 or 5 years or so, that has been a lot of fun and it's been a new challenge for us, is via acquisition. And so if anyone is out there that's got a reputable company, they're not looking forward in going through this upcoming recession that we've got about to happen or scheduled to happen the next couple of years, you want to golf more, worry less, work less, definitely give me a phone call or reach out to me. And you can do that directly. My cell is 480-254-9730. And my direct email is aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. I'd love to have conversations with you. I'm normally in conversations with probably half a dozen to a dozen people throughout the country at any given time about what that looks like in that process. And whether it happens with us or not, I'd love to be a resource to be able to help in any way possible, whether that happens or not. So I'd love to have that conversation. Mitch Shipman is here. He's the founder. He's the CEO of Beetle Pest Control out of Kansas City. Mitch has been so kind and so generous with his time to visit with me the last year or so on a variety of different topics. He has a fantastic staff that I've met a couple of times as they've been out to different conferences here in Phoenix, and I've been out in the Kansas City area. And I really think that some of the things that Mitch with his team out in Kansas City are doing are really unique and really special. And we'll talk about some of those things in more detail now. Mitch, good morning. How are you doing today?
Oh, fantastic, Austin. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah, very, very happy to have you on. We talked about it earlier. Kansas City Chiefs won last night. I was kind of worried about if you were going to make it onto this or not, depending on the outcome of the game. The outcome was positive, and so here we are. Let's jump kind of right into some of the details of this. So one of the things that I think that you attribute quite a bit of your success to has been surrounding yourself with the right sorts of people. The thing that you said to me before we went on is, I think that I'm coming around in the last couple of years to the realization of investing in quality people rather than kind of skirting by with what works or what can get by. Could you maybe talk to us more about that or some of your philosophies as it relates to recruiting, retaining, and developing top talent?
Sure. Whether it's in your personal life or business life, you are the average of the people around you. So we have to surround ourselves with the best of the best. And I've made that mistake for most of my career, to be honest, of just being not want to pay too much, not want to pay enough to find the right attitude and the right skill set and the right work ethic and the right amount of class, I might add. And so I've learned that hard lesson. And so now I've doubled my labor cost in some positions, and my life is phenomenal now. So, and the business is doing great too.
So let me ask you this then. So you've definitely made an investment there. What are some of the things that you find yourself doing now as opposed to perhaps what you were doing before and having to deal with some of the things that you were required to deal with?
Well, not, it's instead of working in the business, I'm working on the business. So I'm able to, work with you some and get some mentorship from you, but also learn and, through Audibles and YouTubes and other podcasts, and of course, listen to yours. And you learn all the intricacies of running a proper business, and you have time to do all that and implement, find people to implement those ideas for you. And instead of me, handling labor issues, we just had one this morning, a big tech meeting this morning, and I was able to just go in front of all the technicians and tell them, great job, and you guys are amazing, and I really appreciate the hard work you're doing. And then I focused on other things, and my operations manager, took care of an employee issue. It's been great, and I can leave and get on a podcast with you. So, the right people.
So, what have you found? I mean, have you collected feedback or seen feedback from your customers as you've made some of those changes? Has retention improved? Has morale in the office or in the field improved? What are some of the changes that you've seen there?
Well, yes. I mean, when you have proper leadership, when you have logical, intelligent leadership, everyone follows, and they when a leader shows up and they're dressed well and they speak well and they make good decisions, everyone else starts doing the same thing. And that leader is showing up on time and acting like a manager. And so it's a great example for the rest. But it all starts with the owner. Like, I have to do all those things as well. So it's just again, the right people are so important, but you have to find the right people too. That's part of the equation, and get them to stay with you and get them to want to work with you. It's kind of like the Patrick Mahomes equation.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about that too before we went on. I mean, you and your team have developed, you feel, a system that has been really meaningful in terms of attracting. I mean, you guys, I think the words you use, really roll out the red carpet. Maybe speak to us, Mitch, about some of that process as you're finding people online or finding candidates, and then what does the first interview or second interview look like? I mean, what are some of the things that you do that your competitors or just other companies in the home service space aren't doing that you feel make a difference?
Sure. Well, you have to have fantastic bait. I mean, the truth is, Patrick Mahomes could have gone to Chicago Bears or whoever else, but he knew that the ownership and the Chiefs organization and the fans, that's where he wanted to be. So it's kind of almost the same equation for your company. So it starts with your ads on Indeed. So if you're imagine it from that potential employee, if you have a 2.3 rating on Indeed, they're not going to be interested, right? So of course we work hard. We have like a 4.6 or 4.7 or something, and then our ad, we have hiring bonuses and whatnot. We make an ad that people really want to read, and it grabs their attention. And part of our ad, it says we'll give you a free TV if you come work for us. So it's
there
not
you go.
Hiring technicians now. It's $1,000 signing bonus plus a free TV, right? So then they click on it, and then hopefully we do a Zoom interview, and we have a checklist of different questions to answer. And then if they pass that, and we do kind of the creepy test, right? And I love using women to do a lot of these because the technicians are around a lot of women, so they just can't be creepy, right? So they'll ask you questions of that person. They pass. We want them to come in. We'll actually pay them. We'll give them a $20 gift card to show up. Right? Everybody talks about how people don't show up anymore. So we'll give them the $20 gift card. Then you want the whole process with this?
Oh, well, I love it because I mean, a lot of the conversations that I've had and that you've probably had too, there's no one out there, no one wants to work. And look, whether that's true or not, it doesn't really matter. There's work to be done. And so like, we've got to find those people. Right. And so I love the flat screen. I mean, for me, you've really put time and thought into like, who are you looking to attract and what is that bait? And a big flat screen TV, especially during football season and with the Super Bowl right around the corner, that is a great piece of bait to have somebody bite on, right? And then you're thinking, or you've had the experience too, like, oh man, well, people aren't showing up, or well, what would make our ideal candidate show up? Like, what would have somebody show up for that? $20 would probably do it. You know what I mean? Whereas a $20 value of something else may not, if it were for a different position. And so, no, to me, you've really put a lot of thought into how do we solve these issues of there's no one out there, they don't show up, and we're going to get into the rest of it. Yeah, no, keep going, please.
Yeah. So we do a $20 gas card. I mean, we basically pay for their gas to show up, and they get rewarded to come. And so before they come, we send a video, an actual recorded video of me introducing myself, say, hey, we're so excited to meet you. You've been chosen over probably 100 different resumes. And I'm outside doing this. And I say, look, guess what? We have your own personal parking space when you come visit us here at our location. And it has a parking space that says future Blue Beetle hero. We call our people heroes here for our culture. So they park in their own parking space right by the front door. And then if you come to visit, I hope you come visit us one day, but if you walk around our property, you can eat off the parking lot floor. So like, you know, you go to places, there's trash everywhere, and it's just, no.
Oh yeah.
It's all first impression, right? So then that potential candidate walks in to our front room, and I'm actually in the video kind of walking them through this whole thing. This is where you go. This is what you do. Instead of like, hey, here's an address in this, commercial district, and you walk in like, is somebody going to help me? Is this the right door? Where do I go? What, it's deer in headlights usually. No, they send a video of me explaining exactly where they go, where they do, who they talk to, and so on. So they walk through the front door, then they're greeted by this big screen TV, and it says, welcome to Blue Beetle, Austin Clark. We're so excited for you to be here today, right? And they see their name on this big screen, and then they look over and they sit down next to this arcade Galaga, and they're welcome to play the Galaga while they wait. And then a nice person comes around. Can I get you a Monster drink, a Gatorade, or a bottled water? What would be your favorite? It's not Perrier or freshly brewed tea, right?
Because your ideal candidate isn't drinking Perrier; they're drinking Monsters. Exactly, right?
Exactly. So, and then we take them, we bring them into virtually an arcade room where we do the interview. So instead of sit behind that uncomfortable desk while we drill you with questions, it's to come into the arcade where there's Pop-A-Shot and foosball and video games and so on. And then we have a nice, checklist chat and see if they're happy, humble, and hardworking. And then if we like them, we'll introduce them to everybody else in the building, and we'll give them a full tour and everything else, and we discuss the money and everything. So, and then when we keep going with their first day on the job, I keep going if you like.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah, no, I would love it. Well, and let me interject here too. Like, please, people, if you're not leaning in at the edge of your seat already, like I am, do it now. What Mitch and his team have done, this is marketing and advertising 101 as it relates to one very, very teeny tiny small part of all of our businesses. And so he and his team have done the deep thinking of, we want to grow. We need people to grow. We need more customers to grow. We don't just need people. We need great people to grow. And so what are the things that we're doing to be able to attract, or what bait are we using to be able to attract these people? Everything that Mitch has said so far is probably 10 times beyond anyone else's recruiting process, if you will. And this is the easy part. I mean, getting especially when you get into like deep sea fishing or like larger game like that, there's a big difference between hooking a fish and landing a fish. So getting that fish on the boat, and that's not where it stops in the workplace either. Then we have to develop, retain, incentivize, motivate, inspire, shape behavior, all of those kinds of things. And so we've heard about everything up until day one, right? And some of those conversations. So here's day one of Blue Beetle.
Right. So we have found the Patrick Mahomes of technicians, right? The one that has fantastic social skills, that's hardworking, shows up on time, looks like $1 million. And so we want to know that the first day that Patrick Mahomes starts with us is the most important day. It sets the tone for for the rest of his career with our company, right? So one of the things we do is everybody in the office, it's in their playbook that they must come in for 5 minutes, introduce themselves, and get to know that person, right? So really, there's like a train of people coming in, welcoming that person to that. This is who I am. This is what I do at the company, and tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're from, and we go through a full. Then they do some onboarding, some paperwork and whatnot. But then the entire company plus them, we'll take them out to lunch. Welcome to Blue Beetle Technician. Where's your, and we ask them, where's your favorite place? Do you want to eat at Panera, Jimmy John's? You want Taco Bell? Anything you want, we're going to go to it because we're so excited that you are a special guest. And get them the uniforms and so on. And we just make them feel like $1 million. And really, for some of these people, it's first time in their life someone's actually treated them really well. But sets an impression. Now, for people in the office, that the first day on the job, it's the same thing. But I don't know if you've started jobs and you had to like sit there and you have to put together your desk or figure out how to turn your computer on. But it's just, we run into the same thing. So it's the desk, you could eat off the desk. It's totally organized. Everything's perfect, works perfect. And we just, again, the first day on the job is the most important. It has to be just absolutely phenomenal.
Well, there's so many things that I like about that, and I totally agree that first day and those first exchanges, right? I mean, when you talk about first impressions, they say, look, there's only one opportunity for a first impression, and to be able to change someone's mind about that first impression, it's supposed to take like hours and hours and hours of conversation or face-to-face time to get that initial impression out of, if it were a bad one or whatever else, but just to be able to modify that. And so the other thing that I like that you said is that, hey, first day, it's part of all of our other employees' playbooks. So how many of us have playbooks? And if we do, what's in it? And is part of that to make other people feel welcome and warm and like part of the team, right? And so, I like to say to our people, hey, look, we win Monday, we win the week, we win the morning, we win the day. And I think that we have similar lines of thinking as it relates to, look, you win that first day, you're going to win that person's career or the time that they're with you. So that's what some of that process looks like for you and your team. What about beyond day one? So, and I'm not saying that this is the easy part, but now you've got someone in, they're part of the culture, that they're still, it's still kind of that honeymoon stage. They're like, man, I can't believe, but they're not always going to park in that special spot. They're going to park where you park, Mitch, at the back of the parking lot. You know what I mean? And have to walk into the building. So what does some of that retention look like? Or how do you keep some of those either good positive feelings or magic going throughout their career?
Oh, okay. So you want to kind of out of train? I mean, we have a training process with a training facility and a fake house and a fake leasing office and fake restaurant that we work with. But you want that?
Go there first. Yeah,
okay,
go there first. And I think that's probably all. I wish we would have started this an hour earlier. That piece is probably all we'll have time for today. We'll definitely do a part 2. But I know, and I've not been to your facility yet. I will, I promise. But tell us more about the facility and that training program or process and how that kind of continues with this candidate or employee now.
Well, you have to think about your technician's time. That person is your product. So building a factory that will take a great human being, great character, and put them into that molding machine and pop them out a phenomenal technician. So we put a one-on-one personal trainer with them and goes through the entire technician playbook or whatever playbook is for the company. And then we have tests for each chapter. Then we have a final test of about 200 multiple choice essay and so on, right? And then we'll go through it. If they miss anything, we'll go through it and make sure that they get 100% naturally. Then we'll take them over to our training facility where we have a checklist for each scenario. So we do lots of apartments, and we'll have an actor, like a fake leasing person who sits at a table, and then they'll go through all the stuff that happens. Like they'll put a huge pile of unorganized keys on the desk and say, good luck, right? or you'll walk in and she'll go, I got people, get with me in about 2 hours and I'll help you then. Right. Or you go to the front door and the leasing office is closed and you just drove 45 minutes to get there. Like, what do you do then? So it goes through all these, probably 300 different checklists of all these scenarios. Okay, it's noon. Do we go through the front door of the restaurant to service it? Right. And it just talks about, so what happens is, and then they come out of this and we do a full testing program we do like a final test with them and they go through all these scenarios with an actor. But once they pass, then we can send them out. But the beauty is you don't get the mistakes, right? Because the truth is, and I got from your friend, Tommy Mello, A1 Garage Door, it's not fair to train on the client, right? So our entire industry says, okay, ride with this technician and be trained for a month with the technician. And we hope that technician remembers everything to train you. And we hope that you say and do all the right things at that customer's house. Okay, hope maybe. And then that's not fair for the customers paying a premium price to have the guy who's been there for 2 days not wear his booties, cuss in front, vape in front of the cut. It's not right for that customer. So we do this whole thing. So.
No, I absolutely love that, Mitch. And man, I'm just thinking about the things that you have inspired me in the last 30 minutes to change about some of our hiring and onboarding. There is one thing I want to say that might be valuable, and I'll send you a text with a picture of some of this when we hop off. But our executive team, probably 3 or so years ago, so truly Nolan has a headquarters down in Tucson, Arizona. I think they've got one on the East Coast and West Side, and the one on the West Coast is in Tucson, Arizona. And so we went down there, and they have a facility similar to the one that you're describing, but the detail, it was a mock attic. It was a mock, it was as if they built a home and like cut it in half so that you could see what the foundation looked like, so that you could see what H block looks like, so that you could see how electrical runs. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that you could see what insulation looks like, so that you can see what the framing looks like, and just kind of really literally pulling back the layers of this home. The other thing that I thought was so cool, and maybe you guys are doing this there though too, but they had QR codes, right? And I don't know if you've got like a physical person or if it's in the book or if the book has the QR codes or video links, but you could take your smartphone, open it up, go to that QR code, click on it, and it would have a video, for example, of yourself saying, hey, so this is what insulation looks like here. This is why we use this product rather than this product. This is normally in this scenario where the rodents get into, and so on and so forth. And so I know field people, for the most part, are usually really visual, and for them to be able to see it, hear it, read it, have someone there that's a mentor or a trainer, like you said in your instance, walk them through it. They get a lot of different scenarios of how they're retaining and remembering and learning. I also need to point out too how important it is, everyone, what Mitch and his team has done in providing a knowledge check. And so it's one thing to be able to say, okay, we're open for class, everybody. It's going to be 30 minutes. But if you say, hey, we're open for class, there's going to be a pop quiz at the end, there's going to be 10 questions, all of a sudden we're like, oh, I better write some of this down or think about some of this. And so knowing, and this doesn't have to be the hardest test in the world. You can make it fun, you can make it cute, you can make it however you want, right? But you will retain information many more times if there is that check. And the beauty of it, let's say you go through that check and the person scored a 50. No big deal. Let's celebrate. You got half of them right. Here's the ones you didn't get right. Now we know where we need to focus, right? This isn't the way that schools and institutions used to be, where you failed out and flunked out. Like, no, this is about creating better people, investing in them, and having them, as Mitch, you said, be your product, because that is our product in the home service space. It's not so much the good necessarily that we're providing, it's the experience that they're having and the results that our services are having on our clients. So Mitch, I got to have you on again. Thank you so much. I do want to give you the last word though. So we talked about so much. Let's say I'm someone that's having a conversation with you, maybe complaining a little bit. There's no one out there, can't keep anyone, no one's showing up. What's the either Reader's Digest version or single thing that you would say to them or me about where to start changing their mindset or paradigm, or things that they could take and do with them to make that process better today?
Well, the beauty is all of our competition have the same problem, right? So who solve that problem the best wins. And it's just like dating. You have to become bait. You have to become the best version or the best company of yourself that you can be. So work at all those little details and be the company that people want to work for.
I love that. Well said, Mitch. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for patching in. We'll drop these every Thursday, starting again now. And until then, create a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.